Hi, everyone. In 2009, I co-founded Little Passports, a children's subscription service with the mission of inspiring kids to learn about the world. Before I tell you more about the company and how we bootstrapped our way to success, I want to share a little bit more about my own personal inspiration behind starting the company. I got this photo from my sister to share, and she warned me that if I shared it with my team, they might think that I was ancient. I think the saving grace is that I'm the youngest person in this photo. My parents immigrated from China in the 1960s, and they settled in Oakland, California, joining other members of their family living there. My mom knew no English at the time, and my dad knew very little. Due to their own individual family circumstances and the political climate in China at the time, my mom was only able to finish elementary school, and my dad only finished high school. When they came, they worked in what were the jobs that were typical for Chinese immigrants at the time. They worked in laundromats, restaurants, and sewing factories, and they often had to work 2 to 3 jobs at a time to make ends meet. So as you can imagine, my siblings and I, we didn't have very much growing up, and we didn't have the opportunity to really try out different experiences. So what we did have, though, was the richness of the Chinese culture that my mom made a point of retaining and instilling in us. Cantonese was my first language. My mom celebrated all of the Chinese holidays and observed all the Chinese traditions. We grocery shopped in Chinatown. We binge-watched TV shows from Hong Kong. And against the backdrop of growing up in a traditional Chinese family, I also had broad exposure to other cultures growing up in Oakland. The first time that I flew on a plane was in high school when I went to visit my sister. She had just finished college on the East Coast. The first time I left the country was when I was a junior in college. I was going to study abroad in Japan. And in Japan, I stayed with the host family. And it was really there that I came to appreciate the power of knowing a language as a means of accessing and understanding a culture. So it was based on all these experiences and really my desire and lack of opportunity to travel more as a child that I decided to start Little Passports in 2009. I was becoming a mom for the first time, and I wanted to do my part in helping my own children become global citizens. I wanted to make travel more accessible and more affordable for children. So fast forward 8 years later, my co-founder Amy Norman and I, we've created 4 subscription plans so that children ages 3 to 12 can follow the adventures of our characters who travel to a new destination every month and send your child a physical package in the mail. We're at a 25 million run rate. We've shipped over 3 million packages, and we have an NPS score of 83. We were also just named one of the top 10 places to work in the Bay Area in the small business category. And there's a picture of Amy and I in the early days and a picture of our team now. But the best part of starting the business so far, and the most rewarding aspect, is the feedback that we've gotten from our families. Parents tell us all the time how much Little Passports has really opened up the world for their children. And this is an email that we got from a mom telling us how much her son loves Little Passports. And she includes a little warning about how parents have to really watch out for their passports, lest their children try to put Little Passport stickers in them. The road to getting here wasn't easy, though. So Dave alluded to it. We started fundraising in 2008, and that wasn't a great time to be fundraising. So I want to share some of the challenges we faced, some of our lessons learned, and how we bootstrapped the company. We started fundraising, and it wasn't a great time. We also had several other things working against us. We were a subscription business before subscription businesses became a de facto business type. This was before there was Birchbox, BarkBox, Blue Apron, and Harry's. We were also a kids' content business, and as we learned, VCs don't like those types of businesses. They don't like kids' businesses where they feel you have to constantly acquire new customers. They don't like content businesses because they feel that they are often one-hit wonders. We managed to stay afloat by raising a few rounds of angel investments. At one point, one of our early investors and strongest supporters suggested that we hit the pause button and reconsider launching at some point in the future. But Amy and I were determined. We had developed a prototype of our product, and we had tested it with 50 families. We knew that we had a viable product and that we had demand for the product. So we decided to self-fund our launch. We invested $50,000 of our own money, and that was enough money to make our initial inventory purchase, as well as to get the site up and running. So just as we thought we were getting the business off the ground, the unthinkable happened for us personally. Amy's marriage ended unexpectedly, and she was 8 months pregnant with her second son. A few months after that, her dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And then at the same time, my second son was born prematurely at 29 weeks and then ended up spending 3 months in the NICU. So at that point, we had really only been live for a few months, and it would have been so easy for us to give up. But we really believed in the business, and we persevered and really devoted all of our energy into raising and building the company. We did try to go back and raise VC money a few times, but the message to us was always the same, that our business would not be successful. So I'm glad that we've proved them wrong now. Being capital constrained for us meant that we had to be very financially disciplined from the start. And for us, that meant focusing on getting to profitability as soon as we could. In his book, The Innovator's Solution, Clayton Christensen talks about an approach where companies are patient for growth, but impatient for profits. And that's very much the approach that Amy and I adopted. We knew that we would likely have a hard time continuing to raise money to grow and sustain the company, so we didn't want to rely on external funding to grow the company. We also wanted the freedom to choose whom we would raise money from if we were going to raise money. So we employed 5 strategies to help us focus on growing and getting to profitability. So I want to share a little bit more of each of those 5 strategies. So the first is that we've had an intense focus on gross margins. From day one, we focused on gross margins that with scale would get us to profitability. We started with gross margins that were greater than 50%, and we've been able to improve from there with scale. Anytime we design a new product now, we focus on designing a product that will delight our customers, but one that also meets our strict gross margin requirements. The second is that we've really developed, with the subscription model, a unique model that funds the business itself. When we first launched, we offered our customers one plan option. They could sign up for a monthly plan where they would pay monthly and they could cancel at any point. Based on customer feedback, we heard that customers wanted to gift little passports, and they wanted to prepay for a certain number of months. They didn't want to have to sign up for the monthly plan and then remember to reach out to us and ask us to cancel their subscription. So based on that feedback, we launched prepaid 3, 6, and 12-month plans. And over time, using pricing and promotions, we've been able to drive the mix shift of our plans so that the majority of our customers are purchasing our prepaid 12-month plans. A prepaid 12-month World Edition subscription for us costs $200. Because we're on a subscription model, we work off of a deferred revenue basis. We can't recognize all $200 on day one, but we can use that cash to fund the business. The third strategy is that we've really focused on acquiring profitable customers from the start. With limited marketing dollars, we're very careful to measure what our customer acquisition costs are, or CAC, across all of our marketing channels, but also within each marketing channel so that we know that every channel is working effectively. We then measure our customer lifetime value, and we look at the ratio of our customer lifetime value to CAC, and over time, we've been able to improve that ratio. We could have, at the beginning, to grow the top line, decide to acquire unprofitable customers, but we knew that that wasn't a sustainable way to continue to grow the business. Our fourth strategy is test everything. So again, because we've had limited capital, we haven't had the luxury of taking major risks or making large mistakes. So anytime we're going to test a new approach, we find small but meaningful ways to test before we invest on a larger scale. On the marketing front, we test every new marketing channel. Because we're a kids business, we're fairly seasonal, with the majority of our sales coming in Q4. And really for us, it's a 6-week window that will make or break it for us for the year. So we want to make sure that every marketing dollar that we're deploying during that 6-week window is going to work effectively for us. A couple of years ago, we wanted to test direct response commercials. So we developed the creative, and we were able to test it in small but meaningful ways before that 6-week window so that we learned about the channel, and then we felt comfortable pre-committing to the media that we had to for that 6-week window. Those first set of commercials spoke to parents and ran on parents' networks. We spent the following year testing commercials that spoke to children and then ran on children's networks. And based on those learnings, the following Q4, we ran commercials targeted at both parents and children. On the product front, you know that we started the company by developing a prototype and testing it with families. We still also develop prototypes anytime we're considering a new product. So about a year and a half ago, we wanted to test the concept of offering optional add-ons to your monthly package. So let's say we knew that you're getting Japan as your following package. We would send you an offer to add on and bundle a sushi racer kit with your Japan package. We decided to test that program by offering and using third-party products. We knew that that would be limiting from a product selection and gross margin perspective, but we also knew that that would get us to market faster from a testing perspective, and it would mean less financial resources invested from a product development and inventory perspective. Now that we've tested the program for a year and a half and we know it's successful, we're starting to develop our own branded and proprietary products to offer in the program. Our fifth strategy really speaks to how we've thought about product expansion for the company. We're the type of consumer product where it's very easy to have an opinion about what we should expand into, and there are, in reality, lots of expansion opportunities. So I remember we would go and meet with the VCs and pitch them, and none of them wanted to invest in us, but we have this blue suitcase that comes in the first month of your World Edition, and we would show it to them, and inevitably they would ask us if we've considered offering a pink version of it to sell to girls. So it would have been very easy for us to get carried away with product expansion throughout the years, but we knew that by every product that we expanded into would mean more financial resource invested in product, marketing, and inventory. So to that end, we've adopted the Bain model of profit from the core. And what Bain's done they've researched thousands of companies over a 10-year period. And what they've found is that companies that drive the most long-term profitable growth are companies that are able to define a very strong core business. They build competitive advantage in that core business. And when they consider expanding into other areas, they expand in adjacencies that are closest to their core, with adjacencies that are furthest from the core representing the greatest amount of risk. So this is what an example adjacency map might look like for a company with the different spokes. And you go through the exercise of defining adjacencies on each of these spokes, and going further out represents greater risk. The green area represents what your core business is. So over the years, we've really used this map to think about what is our core, how do we continue to strengthen our core, and then when we consider expanding, where and how do we expand? So I'm going to talk a little bit about our customer segment and how we've thought about that over the years. When we first launched our first product, the World Edition, it was targeted at children ages 5 to 10, so really elementary age kids. We launched with a year of that product, so kids could get 12 months of packages. We weren't sure that after a year if kids would outgrow the subscription, but as our first cohorts of customers were finishing their first year, they were coming to us and saying that they were still interested in getting more Little Passports packages. So based on that feedback, we launched the second year, so continuing to build into our core with 24 packages. And even after 2 years, we learned that if you started with us at an early enough age, you would be interested in going on to a third year. At that point, we made the strategic decision, though, to introduce the USA edition, which was targeted at children ages 7 to 12, so slightly older, so still overlap with our core, but offering a new opportunity for children who were aging out or for a new target segment for us. And then a couple years after that, we launched our preschool edition for 3 to 5. So you can kind of see how over the years, we've moved out on our customer segment, but in very close adjacencies to our core. So really based on these 5 strategies, we've been able to focus on getting to profitability, and it's allowed us to buy time and money for the company to explore and find scalable marketing channels. As we look ahead to the future, we're excited to build Little Passports into a household brand name with expanded products including digital, animation, and books, and an expanded worldwide distribution, including localized products. Following our test everything strategy, we've started small. So last year we developed an animated commercial, and we've also self-published our first book. But really driving everything that we do is our continued mission and passion for inspiring kids to learn about the world. We really want to help them understand and appreciate the similarities and differences across countries and across borders worldwide. My own children have traveled to many destinations through Little Passports, including Australia and China. And a few years ago, we took them to Australia to visit with their dad's side of the family. And next year, we're taking them to China to learn more about the country where my parents grew up, and also to give them the opportunity to practice the Mandarin that they've been learning in their Mandarin immersion school. So I'm happy that I'm fulfilling my personal dream of raising them to be global citizens. Thanks for letting me share.